Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. As Prime Minister Modi took off on a 3-day state visit to the United States, hopes of an entire nation looking to find its place in the global world order also took off. While India is the fastest growing economy in the world with rapid gains made on most developmental goals, the nation is yet to reach its promised potential as a global powerhouse, with scale and technology being its biggest challenges in achieving fully developed status. This is why this 3-day visit to the United States is not just a recognition of India's rise as a peaceful democratic power, but also an opportunity to seal crucial deals that will help it modernize and become Atmanirbhar at a faster pace. It will also help her bridge key technological gaps to safeguard its borders from terror sponsors and expansionist powers. However, when the Prime Minister Modi lands in America, he will not be seen as a man in need for US assistance, but a man who can meet the US President as his equal. He will rub shoulders with the leaders from the world's biggest superpower as an emerging superpower of his own, with a lot to offer in return. Viewers, that is why Biden is pulling out all stops to showcase US recognition for the defining relationship of the current century. It is a moment poignant with hope and pride. Yet, there are some that are invested in undermining the India story. While Pakistan's ISI has launched a Slike propaganda to discredit Prime Minister Modi, the opposition parties in India too are refusing to unite behind its leader, who is shining on the world stage in the light of India's glory. Listen in to what Uddhav Thackeray's Member of Parliament, Sanjay Raut, had to say.
और हमारे प्राइम मिनिस्टर, हमारे गृह मंत्री, केंद्र की सरकार गद्दारी को इनकरेज कर रही है, उत्तेजन दे रही है। प्रधानमंत्री अब जा रहे हैं यूरो में, अमेरिका में, तो मैं उनको भी कहूँगा, जैसे योगा डे के लिए आपने एक वहाँ काम किया है योगा डे घोषित करने के लिए, वैसे वर्ल्ड ट्रेड डे को भी आप घोषित करने के लिए यूरो को बताइए, बोलिए हमारे देश में कैसी कैसी गद्दारी चल रही है।
Even as the opposition continues to criticize Prime Minister Modi's visit, Samajwadi Party Member of Parliament Shafiqur Rahman today opposed celebrating Yoga Divas in madrasas, saying instead of Yoga Divas, Talim Divas should be celebrated in madrasas because yoga only harasses those in madrasas. Listen it.
मदरसों का तो ये हिस्सा है नहीं। मदरसों में तालीम के लिए बनाइए, मदरसों में तालीम की बस बनाइए कि लोगों को ये एहसास दिलाया जाए कि भाई तुम कम पढ़ रहे हो, नहीं पढ़ रहे हो, तुम्हारी तालीम में क्या कमी है। तो ये तो मदरसों के अंदर तो तालीम दिवस बनाना चाहिए। योग दिवस से क्या मतलब है?
तो योग दिवस को कैसा मानते हैं?
अभी योग अच्छी चीज है, उसमें कोई बुरी चीज तो है। हर आदमी अपने घर भी योग कर सकता। अरे ये मदरसों में हैरेसमेंट फैलाने के लिए सिर्फ, और ये चाहते हैं कि ये मदरसे न चले और मुसलमान बच्चे वो अपने मजहबी तालीम हासिल न करें, तो ये इनका एक ही मंशा है।
Not just these two political parties, the Congress also put out a tweet saying that bye-bye Manipur, hi America, clearly doing politics of the internal crisis in Manipur and saying that the Prime Minister should have paid attention to that before he left for the US. And that is the Congress's latest take. Let's also now listen in to the BJP, which has hit back at the opposition, accusing it of trying to malign Bharat's image on the world stage.
माननीय प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के नेतृत्व में आज जो भारत की साख बनी है, जो आज भारत के ऊपर विश्वास है पूरे विश्व का, उसका एक प्रमाण ये भी है कि वो सभी आर्थिक संबंध भारत के साथ बड़े रूप में बढ़ाना चाहते हैं। माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी आज सुबह ही यूनाइटेड स्टेट्स ऑफ अमेरिका के लिए निकले हैं, प्रस्थान किया है उन्होंने, और आप सब जानते हैं कितना अहम ये स्टेट विजिट माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी का रहने वाला है। आज पूरा विश्व भारत की तरफ बहुत उत्साह और अपेक्षा के साथ देख रहा है।
The Congress party and some of these foreign forces are aligning to dislodge a democratically elected government in India.
देखिए, आज देश के पहले प्रधानमंत्री हैं। संसार के अंदर, विश्व के अंदर जिस प्रकार से अनेकों समस्या है, चाहे बॉर्डर की समस्या रही हो, चाहे पानी की या पर्यावरण की, पूरा देश, पूरा विश्व मोदी जी की तरफ देखता है। और आज सही बात है कि अगर कोई शांति देश विश्व के अंदर ला सकता है तो नरेंद्र मोदी जैसा व्यक्तित्व ही ला सकता है।
Meanwhile, as Prime Minister Modi is expected to land in New York tonight, my colleague Sushant Sinha brings this ground report from Times Square.
His state visit in America is going to be a historic one. Not because it is important for India, but it is more important for America, which is struggling to revive from what happened here after COVID pandemic and what happened during Russia-Ukraine war. And if you talk about America, they are looking more eagerly to welcome Narendra Modi in Washington as well and sign some deals which are going to be a game changer, not for India but for America as well. And if you see, मैं इस वक्त यहाँ टाइम स्क्वायर पर हूँ और यहाँ पर सारी जगमगाहट जो है, लाइट्स हैं, बड़े बड़े स्क्रीन्स हैं, सब कुछ है, लोगों की भीड़ है। लेकिन अमेरिका में ये जो जगह चमचमा रही है वो चमचमाहट अर्थव्यवस्था में, इकोनॉमी में नहीं है। और इसीलिए महंगाई यहाँ पर बहुत है, बैंक्स बंद हो रहे हैं, यहाँ पर लोगों की नौकरियां जा रही हैं। और जो बाइडेन प्रशासन जो है वो इस बात पर निर्भर कर रहा है कि कैसे इंडिया के साथ, जो दुनिया में ब्राइट स्पॉट बना हुआ है, इंडिया विच इज लीडिंग द वर्ल्ड, should also collaborate with America, which will bring jobs here, which will help in easing inflation, which will help Joe Biden government, making sure that people see them as they delivered what they promised.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings me to the legitimate question on the Newshour tonight. India shines, critics isolated? That's the question, and that's the debate coming up on The Other.
You're watching the Newshour at 9. Debate number 1 on Times Now, Super Prime Time.
Joining the debate tonight, Anil Antony, leader of the BJP, also spokesperson, Ishkaran Bhandari, advocate. Also joining me tonight is Vivek Silas, spokesperson of the Samajwadi Party, Sajid Supariwala, leader of Shiv Sena from the Uddhav Thackeray group. Also joining me tonight is Abdul Razak Khan, political analyst. But my first question goes to Tehseen Poonawala, political analyst, supports the Congress party. And Tehseen Poonawala, do you always have to come down to politics of the very low kind where the Congress is concerned? The Prime Minister is going on a two-nation trip and a state visit to the United States. And after Nelson Mandela and Churchill, he's the only third world leader, who's actually addressing the U.S. Congress twice over. Now, at a time like this, when the United States is rolling out the red carpet, do we have to bring up issues like bye-bye Manipur, hi America, which is rather sarcastic and in poor taste, especially at a time when such an important issue, such an important trip to represent India is on the cards?
Good evening, ma'am. Thank you for having me on the show. At the onset, let us all unite to wish our Prime Minister a very successful tour, because in his success is the success of India. But the pertinent questions raised by the Congress in the opposition, I will not speak for the Shiv Sena because I think that was a ridiculous letter put out by Sanjay Raut, and we'll get to that later. But the pertinent questions raised by the Congress, I think this requires some amount of consideration and some amount of merit. There are two issues that we raised. One, proud that India is a part of Quad. And of course, we know that the next battles will be in the South Pacific Sea. But we have two massive problems pertaining to our neighbors. One, our trade deficit with China is over 100 billion, and China, Russia, Pakistan access now with wheat, with crude oil, and with gas is seriously undermining India, with Russia refusing to take our rupees, and we cannot trade in dollar. There is a strategic problem there. We haven't been able to convince the US to make the exception that Prime Minister Manmohan Singh had made with the US for the Iran trade. Prime Minister Modi has not been able to do that. Point number two, we have a massive problem in Manipur. Ma'am, I'm involved in Manipur trying to send some relief. For the last 15 days, no trucks are going there. It's almost as if this integral part of India is cut off. And the Honorable Prime Minister, while I wish him the best for America, has not bothered to address this very critical issue where across the border through drug routes, AK-47s, 56s and rocket launchers are being used to kill Indian citizens. And you know, it's like a genocide as if happening in Syria and Afghanistan. It is something that we need to stand up and speak more about. And the Prime Minister and the Home Minister hasn't addressed those issues. I think it's legitimate for the opposition to ask these very pertinent issues. Have we given up on Manipur? If we haven't given up on Manipur, why isn't the Honorable Home Minister addressing it? He went there for a few days. What is the solution? It's cut off from the country. Nothing is going there. How do we save our citizens? And this is again with a bordering state, Myanmar. And you know the Chinese influence on Myanmar. The Chinese army controls the Myanmar army. There's been a coup there. Weapons are coming into India. Aren't these legitimate questions that the Indian National Congress is asking?
Of course, you have the right to ask every question, Tehseen Poonawalla. Who's taking away that right from you? The question is why to bring it to contest with the US trip. That is the question that is being raised. And Anil Antony, the question is that China is feeling threatened. China's Global Times actually says that India is being used as a pawn by the US, clearly showing the hurt and the worry that they feel. The Pakistanis are having a problem, and of course our opposition. I want to ask you, nobody is taking away the right to ask questions on Manipur, but is putting and juxtaposing Manipur next to the US visit really the opposition's last attempt at somehow try to politicize and pull down India's image abroad?
Thank you, Navika. Right now, Prime Minister Modi ji's trip to the United States, it's a historic and momentous occasion. When you look at the entire American history as well as Indian history, Prime Minister Modi is the third world leader after Mr. Winston Churchill and Nelson Mandela, who will be greeted with a 21-gun salute. He'll be the fourth global leader after Mr. Churchill, Mr. Mandela and Mr. Zelensky, who will be addressing the US Congress twice. Both are occasions which no other Indian Prime Minister ever had a similar opportunity. And then, along with all that, in Mr. Biden's tenure, Prime Minister Modi, along with French President Macron and the Korean President, he will only be the third leader who will be given an official state visit along with an official dinner. So this clearly shows the kind of seriousness that the United States is placing on this relationship. And in these fast evolving times where the world is becoming more and more multipolar, India is emerging as a prominent pole in a multipolar world where we have already become the fifth largest economy. We are going to become the third largest economy in the next 4 years. We are the fastest growing and the third largest digital economy. We are one of the two largest producers of data in the world. And like our Prime Minister said in his Wall Street Journal interview today, India has emerged. India is reclaiming our position which we deserve. And sadly, when entire world is celebrating, when even the United States is celebrating and embracing India with open arms, it is very sad to see the opposition behave in this petulant manner. Let me please complete my sentence, then you can ask me the question. Please don't interrupt me while I am speaking.
Manipur is burning and we are here to celebrate. What are we celebrating?
See, let me come to some points. So this is what I am telling about the petulantness of the opposition. 2 weeks back, Mr. Rahul Gandhi was in the United States. When he was in the United States, Mr. Rahul Gandhi, as usual, once again was bad-mouthing everything related to India. And he raised 2 points. 2 points he raised was India, democracy is suffering. And the second point Mr. Gandhi raised was minorities are being persecuted in India. So this is what he was trying to convey to the American public. But then, one day later, the White House, the official spokesman, please let me finish, please let me finish, please let me finish.
You are not making sense.
Mr. Supariwala is making perfect sense to anybody who cares to listen. But if you have a mindset which actually, talks about writing letters to the UN on how India should be degraded as a sovereign country, then obviously you will not understand Sanjay Raut's letter.
The whole world knows what is going on.
So let me finish.
The world knows what is going on, sure. If you can just keep your camera stable,
so this is what
we'll
I
be
want
able
to
to look
finish.
at you as well. Yes, Anil Anthony, complete your point.
So Mr. Gandhi went to the US, he raised 2 points. So these were the 2 points. One was democracy is suffering in India. Second is minorities are persecuted in India. One day later, the official spokesperson of the White House, he was on record. He was praising the vibrancy and the greatness of Indian democracy. Then 3-4 days later, one of the leading American publications based out of Washington, they had a survey. There was a Pew survey, and what they said in the survey was 98% of Indian minorities, they are absolutely free to follow the religion in India. There are no persecutions happening there. This was a finding, and this is after Rahul Gandhi's speech there. So this is the difference between what the opposition is perceiving, where they believe in an alternate realities which is cut off from Indian ground realities and Indian public consciousness. It's an echo chamber where they believe that everything is wrong in India. They believe that minorities are suffering in India. They believe that there is a lack of democracy in India. But that is not what Indians believe, and that is, fortunately, and because of India's rise, that is not what the world believes, which is why when Sri Narendra Modi is going to the United States right now, the Americans are welcoming him with the red carpet, setting historic precedents.
Absolutely. America is rolling out the red carpet, but there are people in India who have a problem with it. And Sajid Supariwala, what exactly is your problem? Are you going to now become a sovereign party which will write to the United Nations, to declare the kind of day Mr. Sanjay Raut says he wants to be declared? I want to ask you, is this complete bankruptcy of any political ideas that you have to resort to something as low as that?
Navika ji, thanks for letting me speak. So first of all, the whole world knows what is going on. Instead of celebrating, we should be worrying about the Manipur. What is the condition of Manipur? People are dying here. People, they have taken law in their hands. There are automatic weapons being used. And our honorable Prime Minister is going to America. He should be first visiting Manipur and sorting out the condition, solving the problem of the people instead of going to America. Was it so important to go to America right now? Couldn't he just go to Manipur, pay a visit there? Their own leaders are being targeted.
Well,
even BJP is being targeted.
Well, Mr. Supariwala, I don't know if you are reading newspapers or watching news televisions. The Home Minister visited Manipur, stayed there for 3 days, spoke to all kinds of groups over there, tried to bring in peace. These things don't happen overnight. But I want to ask you, is that the reason Mr. Sanjay Raut is campaigning for UN to celebrate a Gaddar Divas? A Gaddar Divas? Is that your creativity of domestic politics?
Right now, we have to look at our domestic politics only. Instead of going to a US and going international politics, why not sort the problem over here?
Oh my God. So you're saying that domestic politics of your brand are more important than going to the United States? I don't know what to say to that, but Ishkaran Mandari, the floor is yours. The floor is yours. Gaddar Divas more important than the Prime Minister's visit to US, where there are technology components, where technology will be transferred for fighter jet engines for Indian fighters to HAL. Not just that, there are drones,
Navika ji,
predators which will be got, that technology, there are business meetings, there is a US Congress address, but all that is not important according to Sanjay Raut's party.
Well, our India is burning with problems. Our Manipur is burning with problems. Their own BJP leaders are being targeted. I'm not talking about my leaders. I'm talking about their BJP.
They're also your leaders, my friend. Everybody is leaders. They're you know, now calm down, Mr. Supariwala. Calm down, Mr. Supariwala. Ishkaran Bhandari is responding.
Thank you. Navika ji, what Sanjay Raut is saying is nothing new. Please see, there has been a long history of trying to deny Prime Minister Modi from going to US, or rather at that time the Chief Minister from going to US. For 10 years while UPA was in power, God knows what all strings they pulled behind the scenes that he was denied a visa. An elected chief minister of a large state of India was denied a visa. Not only that, 2013, 65 members of parliament wrote to US to deny him a visa. They were asking a man running for the prime minister, already an elected chief minister, to not be given a visa. So what are these statements? These are much lesser than elected members writing to US, growling before US कि हमारे देश की जनता ने जिसको elect किया उसको आप visa मत दो. This is the level of politics. That is why they have been reduced to these marginal seats, and this person who's speaking before me, they have been reduced and thrown out of their own party symbol by the Election Commission. But now coming on to the facts of this case, why it is very important.
Hello.
Why it is
the
very
cat
important.
Is running on a
Please don't interrupt.
roof.
Nobody interrupted you. Please don't interrupt. Nobody interrupted you.
It is just
why are you? Why are
Navika
ji, we can't have a debate like this. Election Commission has decided, it's a fact, so why are you jumping? But let me now speak on this. Navika ji, what will be achieved by the Prime Minister going to US? The first important part is he is going to US on his own terms. And why do I say that? For America, the biggest issue is Russia-Ukraine war. We saw how the foreign minister at every platform, February onwards, in fact, April onwards, was pressurized. Please don't buy tail from Russia. They said you are funding the Russian war. His answers are viral. Today, in February, India was buying less than 1% of oil from Russia. Today, it is 42% of oil from Russia. So he is going to US on his own terms, maintaining his relationships with other countries, including on oil, which was a priority for United States. That's a fact nobody can deny. Second aspect, not only what is happening on this visit, please see what is a statement put out by White House on ICET. A corporation on critical emerging technologies, which started in 2022. In 2023, Ajit Doval, the NSA, met the US NSA. They are cooperating on quantum mechanics, supercomputers, defense industrial corridor, on all the futuristic technologies in which India is to have a decisive role. This is how seriously they are taking India, because this is what India
absolutely has and the Asia Nikkei in an article has said this, that India has not only benefited from its oil deals with Russia, the fact is the West has benefited in keeping the oil prices down. And people here are questioning, why is the Prime Minister going to America?
10 seconds more. 10 seconds more. I'll just end it. A line has been grossly. Just 10 seconds. A line has been grossly. 1 second. Just 10 seconds more. A line has been misused in a very, I would say, pathetic manner in a movie Adipurush, but probably it is an appropriate line now, because जल रही है और बहुत बुरी तरह जल रही है कि जिसका
let's not go that route. Let's not go that route, because double entendres here, definitely not on this show. But I'm coming back to all of you. Let me get in Vivek Silas. Vivek Silas, और कुछ नहीं मिला. So yoga, which is being celebrated by the United Nations for the last 9 years, after the Prime Minister took the initiative to get an international yoga day, it is soft power of India. How can anybody have a problem with that and bring in yoga is used for harassment in madrasas as an issue to just somehow take off the sheen out of the International Yoga Day that is going to be celebrated at the United Nations headquarters tomorrow? I mean, is that bottom of the barrel?
Yes, first of all, very good evening to you, Navika ji. Very good evening to you, Navika ji, and pranam to you as well.
Pranam.
There's no doubt that yoga is an excellent way to be fit. There's no doubt about it. It's an excellent way to be healthy. But it's not necessary that we all practice it. At least I get lazy of practicing it. You know, you cannot impose it on everyone. You cannot be imposed. Many of us are lazy, as I said. What Mr. Berg said is his personal views. But he also said ये अच्छी चीज है और हम इसको घर में भी कर सकते हैं, सोसाइटी में भी कर सकते हैं. But there's no use and absolutely unnecessary to bring in religion or
अच्छी चीज है.
What Mr. Basit Ali said.
नहीं, विवेक साइलेंस जी, योगा अच्छी चीज है.
बिल्कुल है, बहुत अच्छी चीज है.
At least you agree on that. Yoga is beneficial. Do you agree on that?
Of course.
अच्छी चीजें स्कूल में नहीं सिखानी चाहिए, मदरसों में नहीं सिखानी चाहिए.
अच्छी चीज
आपकी पार्टी में भेज दें लोगों को बुरी चीजें सीखने के लिए. I'm just asking, अच्छी चीजें अगर स्कूल में मदरसों में नहीं सिखानी चाहिए तो कहां सिखानी चाहिए? And 47 Islamic countries don't have a problem with yoga, लेकिन समाजवादी पार्टी has a problem. पाकिस्तान वाले योगा कर लेंगे लेकिन समाजवादी पार्टी वाले नहीं करेंगे. What kind of logic is this?
Ma'am, I think very humbly I am trying to tell you, maybe you have not heard the statement of Mr. Basit Ali, who is the state head of BJP Uttar Pradesh Minority Commission. What he said today after Mr. Berg's statement, he said, Atank ka adda. That is the problem. That is the problem. Whatever we speak, whatever we try to say, Mr. Berg said, okay, that is his personal views. He said it's a good thing, but it can also be practiced at home or even in the society. There's no use and there's no need to bring in religion into it. That is the point, ma'am.
We should also discuss what Mr. Basit Ali said. Ishkaran Bhandari, the United Nations is out of its mind that it is holding a session of yoga in the headquarters of the United Nations because the Samajwadi Party knows better. And official views are not expressed by the member of parliament of the Samajwadi Party, but personal views are expressed by him. Is this argument defying logic?
Why do we keep seeking logic in people who are not appealing to logic, who are appealing to a particular vote bank? If you want logic, the logic is that the member of parliament thinks that his vote bank, which
that is what the Bharatiya Janata Party says, Mr. Ishkaran Bhandari.
That is why.
Please comment on also Mr. Basit Ali, what Mr. Basit Ali said.
Otherwise,
is that the official statement of the Bharatiya Janata Party? What Mr. Basit Ali said?
I didn't interrupt you.
What Mr. Basit Ali said, please speak something about that as well.
Is he not trying to address people who vote for him? Is that the reason you are giving me? Obviously, because yoga is a thing which everybody should do. Mr. Silas is also admitting it's a very good thing. He may be lazy. I would hope he is not lazy. He is a very prominent gentleman. He should stay fit. Laziness can cause a lot of problems. So they should be active. In fact, there are a lot of allegations on Samajwadi Party being very lazy. That is why probably they are in that electoral situation. So it's good to be active. But coming on to the personal aspect of the things, the personal aspect is a good thing like yoga should be taught everywhere, should be encouraged everywhere. Why would you object to something which will cause you benefit?
But it cannot be imposed.
Reason, which is an illogical reason. Nobody is being forced. It's being promoted. So if you do not want to do it, you are addressing a particular vote bank which you think will be happy with it. That is your choice. But as a nation, we should export our soft power. We should be happy that something from Bharat is being recognized all over the world, and we should definitely promote it. All nations promote its culture, and I am very glad that this Prime Minister is unapologetically promoting his culture.
Well, let me also tell you, Mr. Vivek Silas, that in the recently concluded civic polls, your party made a number of promises, including setting up of yoga centers in the city's main parks. क्यों भाई? योगा में तो आपको इंटरेस्ट ही नहीं है. अच्छी बात है लेकिन स्कूल में मत बताइए, मदरसे में मत बताइए, घर में बताइए.
बिल्कुल अच्छी चीज है, ये हम कह रहे हैं
अच्छी चीज है पर करिए मत. मदरसों में हैरेसमेंट हो जाता है. अच्छी चीज है पर मदरसों में हैरेसमेंट हो जाता है. लेकिन अब्दुल रज़ाक खान, लेट मी कम टू यू नाउ.
नहीं, योगा को आप रिलीजन से नहीं जोड़ सकते मैम.
तो हम तो नहीं जोड़ रहे.
योगा
इज फॉर हेल्थ माय फ्रेंड. Yoga is for health. If it is to be done in schools, it should be done in madrasas as well. Where is religion coming into this? Except in your mind.
Navika ji.
So Abdul Razak Khan.
Navika ji.
Yes, sir. योगा से परेशान है कि प्राइम मिनिस्टर के अमेरिका ट्रिप से परेशान है?
It was mentioned in Rig Veda. Madam, why should my children go ahead and practice a Hindu tradition? You don't allow our children to wear hijab at schools. With what morality do you ask our children to do yoga today?
There is nothing.
I am saying, why should
there is
my
nothing.
children
There is
do a
nothing
Hindu
immoral,
practice
my
of
friend,
tradition?
about practicing
Madam,
healthy exercise routines. What is immoral about it, Abdul Razak Khan?
I would like to say something on this.
We the Muslims, go down in front of one God. We don't, worship the creations. We worship the Creator. For example, Surya Namaskar is equal to worshipping a creation, which I don't want my children to do.
भैया आप
If it is
शीर्षासन
not a
कर
Hindu
लो,
tradition.
सूर्य नमस्कार मत करो, शीर्षासन कर लो. योगा में बहुत से आसन है. आपको सूर्य नमस्कार से दिक्कत है? लेट मी शो यू पिक्चर्स हियर. पाकिस्तान की पिक्चर्स है, अरब न्यूज पाकिस्तान, एंड आई एम जस्ट लुकिंग एट द ट्विटर अकाउंट.
पाकिस्तान का एग्जांपल हमको क्यों दे रही है?
नहीं 47, अच्छा पाकिस्तान का नहीं देती, 47 अदर इस्लामिक नेशंस. आप उनसे ज्यादा सच्चे मुसलमान हैं कि वो इस्लामिक कंट्रीज में योगा कर लेंगे, आप नहीं करेंगे? आप उनसे ज्यादा सच्चे मुसलमान हैं?
Navika ji, very clearly, this is very well mentioned in Rig Veda, in many of the Upanishads. This is a Hindu tradition. Our constitution gives us freedom of religion, Article 25. Please don't snatch that from us by compelling our children to go ahead and practice yoga at schools. How kind of hypocrite this BJP government is. Does not allow our children to
Anil Antony, yoga is a Hindu tradition, and aap zabardasti, you are by force making Muslims practice yoga, and this is another Hindutva agenda that you are imposing on them. Please respond.
Mr. Anthony, please say something about Basit Ali also.
Thank you.
Your state head of Minority Commission Uttar Pradesh.
Let me please answer. Navika ji, India is a civilizational country with a rich culture, a very rich set of traditions. And right now, yoga, one of them, yoga, is right now a very potent soft power tool of us, which is helping us forward Indian interest across the world. Tomorrow, when Modi ji will be when he will be attending the Yoga Day celebrations in the UN, it is going to be a world record where almost 180 plus countries will be having representatives in that particular event. Almost 150 other countries will be celebrating Yoga Day tomorrow. So it has become one of India's most potent tools, one of our most important soft power tools that is forwarding Indian interest across the world. But sadly, again, like you said, Islamic countries, 47 Islamic countries are celebrating it. Dubai, in the main tower of Dubai on last year's Yoga Day, it was the main theme. But sadly in India, the opposition, first of all, they don't respect Indian civilizational culture. They don't respect our traditions. And along with that, there is a blind hatred of the Prime Minister, where whatever the Prime Minister does, the de facto action of the opposition is we have to oppose it. And along with it, don't shout at me, don't shout at me.
Why did you not respect our tradition of wearing hijab? Modi ji's mother used to put a veil on her head. I have shown so many examples. You did not respect our tradition when our children wore hijab. Today, with what morality will you ask us our children to go ahead and do what a Hindu tradition?
My dear friend, this is
why are you comparing the two? Why are you comparing the two? She wasn't going to school in that dress, no? When you go to school, you wear your uniform. Who has said you should not wear hijab any time of the day, anywhere that you go?
She was covering her head.
She was covering her head because that is a traditional. That is a tradition at home. She is following the tradition at home. She is not going to school in that. You know, you are bringing unrelated issues, Abdul Razak Khan. It just shows your lack of knowledge and your complete.
How will Hindus be affected if Muslim innocent children cover their head?
My friend, right now I'm only attempting to ask you that what is the problem that you have with healthy exercise activity that yoga teaches us. Foreigners do it, Islamic nations are doing it, even Pakistan is doing it. आपको क्या दिक्कत है? कहाँ दर्द है?
Physical education. Call it physical education. I will ensure Muslim personal law board gives out a fatwa to every Muslim child to go ahead and do exercise.
Tehseen Poonawala. Now this is called opposition for the sake of opposition. Yoga will be opposed. Visit to America will be opposed, as done by the Congress Twitter handle. I just want to ask you one question. Dr. Manmohan Singh, when he was the Prime Minister, went to the United States in the middle of the recession after the Lehman Brothers crash. He went 2 trips, 2008 and 2009. It wasn't as if India was in the pink of health, but he still went. In 2013, there was a terror attack on a bus in Tamil Nadu. He still went a week later to the United States. And clearly, there are meetings that are important at a multilateral, at a bilateral level. And these foreign visits and foreign policy should continue. Nobody ever objected to his trips at that point. Why is the Congress objecting to the Prime Minister's timing of this trip? I really can't understand.
I'm very grateful you brought that up. In 2008 and 2009, and I quote President Barack Obama, Prime Minister Manmohan Singh led the world in bringing the world out of the recession that the Lehman Brothers crash caused. But here's the thing that neither Anil Bhai or Ishkaran were able to answer specifically. And I completely support my Prime Minister in the Russian oil from 1% to now 40 odd percent and keeping European prices down. But neither have answered the problem of paying Russia now. Russia has refused to take rupees. We haven't got the exception that we got in Iran. And you know that Pakistan's buying Russian oil with Chinese yuan, and there's an access there. The Prime Minister has not been able to address that. Second, Anil hasn't been able to address, let me be more specific, the weapons that are supplied by China to Myanmar coming into India. And can you, Anil or Ishkaran, give me another example where Article 355 is imposed in a state, and yet Article 356 is not imposed? Today, we have a state that is cut off from the Union territory of India, and the most honorable Home Minister hasn't been able to solve it. It is cut off, Anil. There is a serious problem.
Okay, Anil Antony, respond please.
I would like one more point.
No time. Anil Antony, last response. Last response.
And the upgrading of the F-16 for Pakistan.
Thank you. So when you look at Manipur, our Honorable Home Minister had visited that place multiple times, and the situation is slowly being brought under control. These kind of things cannot be done in a day. And it is like Ishkaranji himself, like my Tehseenji already mentioned, it is a situation that is caused with a lot of foreign interference, your arms and drugs, etc. coming from Myanmar and China. There are issues that are happening there, but that place had been unstable for a long time. And in the first time the riot started, within 2-3 days, the situation was initially brought into control. Now again, steps are happening there. It is done by the Home Minister.
And the army is out there. Army is out there.
And it is ridiculous to then couple this with the Prime Minister's visit. These are entirely different issues altogether. There are issues happening in Manipur which is being solved by the Home Minister and the state leadership. At the same time, the Prime Minister is going to US.
But why is the opposition hell-bent on somehow conjoining these two issues? We can't fathom. The question tonight is only this. Historical visit by the Prime Minister. It is an honor that is being given to him, not just the state dinner, but also a private dinner with the head of states at the White House, but also there is the US Congress address, second time that an Indian Prime Minister for the first time will address, and bipartisan support coming for India's Prime Minister. If this is not a big-time entry of India at the global high table, then what will be? What more does the opposition need for convincing them? We'll leave it at that for now, as we promise to bring you all the updates of that historic visit of the Prime Minister, who's expected to land in the United States very soon, anytime now. Thank you very much to all my panelists for joining me on debate number 1.